It's October 31st, and yes, I did go to work dressed like this. You have to do something to keep the 18-year-old freshman engaged with the concept of mass media and the public sphere. Hey guys, it's Sarah from Just My Typewriter, and November is National Novel Writing Month. It started in about 1999 with a goal of writing about 50,000 words toward a novel during the month of November, and then in 2006 it became a non-profit to help encourage writers to connect with each other and network with each other, and then also support literacy, writing, and reading programs in schools. Some of my favorite books have come out of National Novel Writing Month, including Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is one of my all-time favorite books, and another one was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I love both of those novels, and they both came out of this project of writing a novel within the span of a month. Now, a lot of typewriter collectors are also writers, and they participate in NaNoWriMo. I'm not one of those people because I'm not very good at creative writing, but I do have a lot of typewriters, and I don't use them as often as I probably should to justify having this many. I get asked all the time, what is a way that I can use my typewriter if I'm not a writer? And the answer is I don't really know, so this month we're gonna find out. Every single day, I'm gonna sit down and use a typewriter in some way or fashion. I might be writing pen pal letters, I might be doing the cards that I have for my collection of their typefaces, I might be jotting down a grocery list, I might be writing something, I don't know. We might do some writing prompts. I want to use a typewriter every single day to get into the process of making it a habit for the month of November. I don't have a plan beyond that because I haven't started yet. It starts tomorrow. So I'll check back in at the end of the month to see how it went. So I have to write today, but I don't know what to write about, so I went and found a writing prompt on Instagram, and the writing prompt is, think of a smell that you associate with childhood. Now set a timer and write for 15 minutes in poetry or prose about that scent and how it makes you feel. Here goes nothing. Write a scene or story that contains elements of a real holiday memory, or just think about a holiday past and write every detail you can remember. Go. I just have to start writing. I just have to do it. Oh no, why can't I? I can't even think of what a holiday would be. Okay. I think I see what happened. So I was typing, and I realized I got like these weird spots where there was no text. And I realized over here I had a grommet, so I decided I need to switch the ribbon direction. What actually happened was the grommet from this side had gone all the way through my ribbon vibrator and ended up on this side. And by reversing the direction, I pulled it back the other way. So I should have just done that a lot sooner. But I found the ribbon reverse on this machine. It's right here. Now I know. I was going to do a writing prompt, and I was having trouble finding one today. And I thought maybe this pen pal writing prompt, but it's kind of boring, even though there's a cute little pug in the corner. So I think instead, I'm just going to write and free write using my favorite typewriter right now, which is this Adler J3, which I've called Irene Adler, and I think I'm going to take her name, Irene Adler, and just like espionage free write, and just like write spy stuff. I need to make one of these cards for this guy. This is how I track typeface, year, serial number, but I have to find all that info on this machine, and I completely forgot where that stuff is hidden. Ah, there it is, on this side. But another thing I like to do with my typewriters is I like to name them, and I haven't named this one yet. So I'm gonna sit here and do some research and just kind of brainstorm some names that could go with this 1936 Corona Standard. Normally what I like to do is just think of things that might be related. So we could Google, let's just Google L.C. Smith and Corona. Okay, here were the Smith brothers. Their names were Lyman. Oh, come on. Oh, you know what? what? It hates this thing. Let me just remove that. Wilbert. Monroe. And Hurlbert. That's a name. Hurlbert. So one thing I really like to do, and this is kind of strange, but I like to type on weird objects. So I did a bunch of poetry at some point where I written on weird things like receipts or coffee liners or fabric or all kinds of things. And I wanted to today, I have this receipt from the post office. I wanted to kind of type some poetry on the back of it. So I'm going to brainstorm some poetry on this Travel-Riter, which I named Nellie Bly. And I'm going to just kind of come up with some ideas and then hopefully transfer it to the receipt. So we're going to see how this goes. What rhymes with required? Undesired, fired, expired. I like that one. I need another line in there. Signature required, return to, I like that. Okay, wait, I got it. Okay, let's do it. Signed. Once admired. I think we did it. I think that works. Post you, post me, posting packages for celebratory delivery, post grad, post friend, available via pen, post ust, post event, letters not to be sent, signature required, return to sender expired, signed, once admired. It's like the Shel Silverstein of writing on post office receipts with a typewriter. So I saw this on Instagram the other day. The post office was promoting writing letters to Santa. So I thought I would sit down at my Barbie typewriter and write my Christmas wish list. And I thought I might do that on a Post-it because I really don't need that much for Christmas, but I thought it might be fun to try. Oh my god, a massive spider just crawled down. Okay, no, come here, fella. Oh, no. Ugh. Can you see him right there? He's big. I don't like him. He needs to go outside. So I'm at work. I didn't finish my letter yesterday, but I thought maybe I could bring in an envelope today because I have a collection of all my big manual desk standard typewriters here and do the envelope while here at work, and that would be today's typewriter test because I never get to use these guys. So I'm trying to be quiet because I'm in my office and there's people in the hallway. But I'm gonna use my Underwood 6 to do the envelope for the pen pal letter from yesterday. Write a letter to your 14-year-old self. Okay, I like that one. So I really love blackout poetry. I think it's really fun, and I've done it before on this channel using a typewriter and book pages. But I was thinking about with this writing prompt I did today where I wrote a letter to myself when I was 14, I could do whiteout poetry since I typed on white. So I've got like different whiteouts that I used in the whiteout test from a Christmas video a while ago, and I was just gonna go through and maybe do some whiteout poetry with this letter and like white out everything on the page except for like a short little poem. So I'm gonna go through, find the words I like, and then white out the rest. And this might take a while. It's really gloppy. And now we let that dry. It says, steal your happy, don't plan too far ahead. All the best. I love you to the moon and back. You. I think that sums up the letter the best. Okay, the ribbons aren't working. Oh, this is frustrating. So this is a machine I've had for a while, but I've never fixed, and I can't remember what's wrong with it. So I figured we'd go through and do a test and see if I can remember what's wrong with it, so I know what to fix. I used to hit something, and it made everything work, and I don't know what it was anymore. There it is. But it's still locked in place. Don't mind me, I'm just really cold because it's 30 degrees outside and I decided to walk to work and I'm out of breath. Every week I make myself a task list for work and I write it on a post-it and then I put it on my computer screen and I cross off stuff as I do it. So I thought I would take one of the typewriters I have from work and type out my task list this week. So I've got my HH and we're gonna see how this goes. November writing prompts. What does your lazy day consist of? And do you allow yourself a lazy day? Well, I could do that. I saw this writing prompt earlier and I decided to screenshot it because I kind of liked it. And it says, if 2022 was a movie, what would be the title? I like that. So let's brainstorm some movie titles. The longest year. In parentheses, ever. Disaster movie, Break-Apocalypse, because I've had a ton of break issues this year. Twitter, Verified Insanity, would be the documentary. And if it were a drama, it would be called Solitude. That's just really depressing. I went to Dunkin' yesterday and I was looking at the bag for my snack and I was like, that reminds me of something. The Barbie typewriter. So I thought maybe today we could sit down, think about some sort of poem or something to write on the Dunkin' bag and use the Barbie typewriter to write it. Medium. Medium iced coffee, vanilla latte off every exit on the highway. Sprinkles. Okay, so it's kind of cheating, but let's pull out the Adler. I like the ink on this one better. It'll write better, it'll show up better than the Barbie typewriter. And I did pre-write on the pink Barbie typewriter, so. Dunkin', formerly of the donut variety, now serving you a drive-through memory. Medium iced coffee, vanilla latte off every exit on every highway. Every trip, every state, the sprinkles are the same. Different driver, same me. This flashback is calorie-free. Boom. Poetry. Back in the office today. I mean, I'm in the office every day. But today I was thinking, every time I sell a typewriter, I like to include a typeface. And I'm thinking about selling my Olivetti Linea 98 again, for the second time. So I thought today I would do a typeface sample for it because I haven't done one in a while and I've done a little bit of cleaning on it since then. I sometimes forget how much I actually like typing on this. Every time I go back to type on it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I still have it. It's super smooth. Maybe I'll just take it home instead. Maybe it's not smart to have coffee this close to an electrical typewriter. It's fine. So I was on Instagram and I saw this post that says words work wonders. And I thought that was kind of interesting, that like continuation of using the same letter over and over again. And I was thinking, with a Barbie typewriter, maybe we just write a bunch of B words and see if we can make something fun out of them. Okay, so my office hours are different next week than they are this week. So I figured instead of just putting a post on my door, I would type out my new office hours for next week on an index card using one of the typewriters in my office. I haven't used it in a while. I hope it still turns on. Close enough. So I'm sitting here working on this video, and I had the realization that I'm gonna run out of typewriters before I run out of days in the month of November. So we need to go find another typewriter to use. I think maybe we'll find a typewriter here. Are you trying to get away from me? We're best friends. It's me. Hi. Maybe we'll find a typewriter here. I have this typewriter that I redid for my mom, and I figured while I was home I could reuse it or test it again. And I got these paint swatches when we were looking at paint colors. We're not painting the walls in the house this color. I promise, although I had this color in my room growing up for like most of my life, but I like typing on paint swatches. They're really thick and they're really fun to use as bookmarks as well. So I thought maybe we'd type on one of these and just use a quote that I found online. My students have to use quotes in their speeches this week, so I figured I'd also pick one that I liked and put it on a paint swatch to use as a bookmark. I'm so clever that sometimes I don't understand a single word that I am saying. So today I have some grading to do, and I didn't bring a typewriter with me, but I did bring a typewriter keyboard. So let's do some grading. Now, don't look at the kids' grades, that's bad. So this is my Monster Royal 10, which I fixed last year around this time. And you can see the addition of these beautiful stained glass side panels. These were made for me by Lucas over at Typewriter Chicago, and I love them, and I think they're amazing, which is why you're on this side to see them. So he made me these custom stained glass panels, but I don't use this typewriter very much because it's just too pretty and I don't want to mess it up, and it also doesn't type the best ever. But I found this list booklet of just options to make lists, so I thought today we'd sit down and just make a list of things. Top 10, number 1 is Jaws. That's my favorite movie ever. So the last thing I have to do is I've been wrapping Christmas presents, and I need to make some tags to go on the Christmas presents to say who they're from. So I thought today I'd use my IBM Selectric and type on some tags for Christmas presents. There we go. It's officially December, which means I'm legally obligated to pull out my Christmas sweater collection. So today I have my Meowie Christmas sweater, which means you can track me anywhere I go. So I have just finished using 30 different typewriters in the month of November, and that was kind of an interesting process. I really enjoyed going through this experiment. I am a routine person. I love routines. I like doing the same thing every day. I like doing the same thing every week, obviously, because I post videos on this channel every single Saturday. I really like building routines. They're really easy for me to get into. So it was kind of easy for me to integrate a typewriter into my every single day, and I really enjoyed forcing myself to sit down and use a typewriter and making time to do that. I think sometimes when people sit in front of a typewriter, they're intimidated by the content. And when you're not so focused on what you have to write, just that you have to write, it kind of frees up that process a little bit and makes it a lot less intimidating. And I had days where I was busier than others, and so I just used the typewriter a little bit, like writing the address on an envelope. Took me 2 minutes, tops, but I still got to use a typewriter that day. And I think that's a really great way to integrate them. I would have days where I did 2 minutes on an envelope, and then I had other days where I spent an hour writing a pen pal letter to somebody. So I had different amounts and different tasks for each machine, but I still got to use a different typewriter every day. And it was kind of nice to go through my collection again and see which ones need work. Sometimes these machines, I test them and then I set them on a shelf and I think they're fine, but I traveled with all of these typewriters and some of them got bumped around in transit. There were other problems with them. I pulled out my Royal Victory, which is my grandfather's typewriter, to write a letter to my friend Lucas of Chicago Typewriter Chicago, every single time. And as I was working on this letter, I realized the ribbon reverse wasn't working, or the ribbon direction wasn't working. I've never run into that problem, probably because I fixed that typewriter, set it up on a shelf, and then never went back and used it again. So it kind of showed me the problems in some of my machines that I have to work on. A lot of those are adjustments that I just have to make, but if I hadn't sat down and used that typewriter, I never would have known that it was a problem. And I feel like I have more typewriter knowledge now than when I had when I started that project, so I was able to easily identify what the problem was and then go forward and work on it, which again just makes things easier. The more you work on things, the more you work with typewriters, the more you learn about them. It was also cool to go through my whole collection and just count how many I have. I stopped keeping track after a while because I had sold so many. There are 30 days in the month of November, and I used my typewriters for 28 of those days, including all of my Barbie typewriters. And then I had to use my mom's typewriter and a typewriter keyboard to get to that 30 days, which means I have 28 typewriters and a Type-A-Tune. Well, actually, while I was home, this box got delivered, which means now I have 29. I really enjoyed the process. I liked using all of my typewriters. I feel like I learned a lot as well. I am not a writer. I don't write things. I just like typewriters. And I think that sometimes can be confusing to people, but I get asked all the time, well, what should I use my typewriter for? I have one, but I'm not a writer. And I think when you focus on the process of writing rather than the content, you can write all kinds of things. So writing notes, writing lists, sitting down and writing prompts was really fun for me, because I didn't have to think about what I was writing because I was prompted with what I had to write about. And that was a lot more fun, and it allowed me to be a lot more creative and have that creative freedom. I also, when I was in 6th grade, my final project in my English class was to write a book of poems, and we did things like the acrostic poems and blackout poetry and haikus, like all the cute little poetry forms you learn in English class in elementary school. And I remember telling my 6th grade English teacher, I'm gonna be a poet someday. Like, that was my dream. And I never did that, but using my typewriters and sitting down and getting to play with poetry because I had to do that day really was fun for me. I really enjoyed that process. And poetry now is a lot less intimidating to me because it doesn't have to be so specific. It can be sitting down at your Barbie typewriter, writing about Dunkin' Donuts, and then writing that on something else to be a poem. At least that's how I look at poetry now. So no, I'm not a writer. I'm not even a poet. I'm barely proficient in even collecting typewriters, but I did go through this experiment and learn a lot more about the machines in my collection, learn a lot more about myself and how I process information and building routines and even just writing, and I really did enjoy going through that. I think there's a lot more things that I could do on a daily or weekly or monthly basis to integrate more typewriters in my collection and rotate through more of the typewriters in my collection so that every single machine is working and that I know I can use it when I pull it out of its case or put it on the desk. So if you're looking for things to use your typewriters for, don't be afraid to use it for something as simple as addressing an envelope or writing a to-do list or doing your grocery list. Or if you want to have a little bit more fun, look up some writing prompts on the internet and just force yourself to write for a certain amount of time. It is so freeing, it is so much fun to not have to worry about the content, just to accomplish the task. If you're interested in more typewriter content, there are some other videos on this YouTube channel, and I also have an Instagram at just.my.typewriter. I want to thank you all so much for watching and remind you, you're just my typewriter. If you're interested in more typewriter content, I do have more videos on this YouTube channel, and I also have an Instagram at just.my.typewriter. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you've been good this year, and I will see you next time. That's not my outro.